Hello, and welcome to this first episode of Career Congregation. The name might evolve in time, but my name's Megan, and I am a qualified therapist and coach, and I've had many, many jobs over the course of my career. Always seemingly drawn to more and more increasingly wellness related roles. And during COVID, I made the leap and started training to be a therapist. It's been a long journey, but I've now been working with clients for a couple of years, and it's incredibly rewarding. I have wanted to be involved with podcasts and or work, either have my own or be involved in one for a really long time. And I also credit a number of podcasts with me becoming a therapist in the first place. And I had a bit of a light bulb moment in the last year of my therapy training where I was like, I think I want to have a wellness therapy related podcast. And now that I've been qualified for a while and I'm working with a lot of clients, one of the themes that seems to be that seems to weigh on a lot of people that I think I would be able to offer a lot of very valuable support with my qualifications and lived experience is career. That's not to say that I'm, some like super wealthy, successful person, but I've transitioned through a variety of careers. I'm extremely independent. Now I'm self-employed, and I've gone from one industry into being a full-time therapist very quickly. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like, one, my natural skill sets, but two, a lot of the things that I've learned and tried and tested over the years, as I've always been so curious about so many different industries. And I've got quite the CV now. I've had a lot of very unique career experience, as many people also do. So something I have found myself working through with a lot of my clients lately, and then some of my friends and my family, is career. So I'm 41, not married and no children. But being 41 means that I have a lot of people in my life who are married and or divorced and with children. So there's this pool of people that haven't worked in a while because they've been looking after their children, and now they want to come back to the working world, and their interests have completely changed. They've possibly lost confidence. They're not sure that they have any value in the workplace anymore. So there's that. I also am a very free-spirited, independent person, and I have a number of friends that are also very free-spirited and independent. So there's that group that just have a hard time sort of locking down into one specific type of career. And then I've got like quite a few, because I live in London, and I lived in LA briefly, but London has been where I've spent the bulk of my working career since I finished university. And so I know a lot of like corporate people. And so I would really like this podcast to be stories of inspiration and growth, and also like lots of practical tools that people can use if they're feeling like they want to change their job, or they hate their boss, or They want to stay in their job. They kind of like it, but they know that they're not getting paid what they should be paid, which I have to say it seems to be very widespread in the UK at the moment. I have a lot of clients that sound like they're being underpaid, and I have a lot of friends that I know are being underpaid. So that's a very common theme. And then there's a lot of people that want to leave, either do a complete industry change or they want to be self-employed. So I've done all of those things, and I think something that I can bring to the conversation that a lot of just like just straight up like recruiters or career coaches don't have is the therapy training. So I know, and as many of you will know, unemployment, being made redundant, getting laid off, re-entering the workforce, going to interviews, those experiences bring up a lot of our shadows and insecurities, and can be like some of the most vulnerable times in our life. I know people who've, lost their jobs that didn't want to and fell into depression, and especially people that had really long-standing careers, and then, from COVID or other economic crashes, big companies just have had to let lots of people go, and some of those people had really long-standing careers, and I've seen it even in my family, like my own father, experienced this. It's really hard to see someone who really like trusted the place they work, and think that that's where all your livelihood's always going to come from. I feel this is a conversation I have with my family a lot, or not my family, my parents. It took me a really long time to kind of realize, like, I have to stop going to my parents for career advice because they're from another time and they think safety and security, you just got to find the right company to hire you, and then they'll take care of you. And it's like, the world does not work like that anymore. It is not like that out there. It's extremely unlikely that you in this day and age will get hired by a company that will look after you for the rest of your life. Like, those days are the days of yore. It's just not a thing anymore. So, people really need to have their own back, look out for themselves, and be their own CEOs and PR person and marketing manager. And even if you do want to go work in a corporate career, like, you will be best served by doing a lot of things on your own to market yourself. Be that, if you want to be a copywriter or like a graphic designer, you should always be building a portfolio on the side. You should probably have your own website. You should have a blog. A lot of fashion or something more creative like Instagram, TikTok. I don't do TikTok, but it's a thing. And this podcast experience is going to have me branching out into the wonderful world of YouTube as well. So that'll be a thing. So anyways, before I go off on too much of a tangent, this podcast will very much be for anyone at any career stage who wants a change. So either they want to improve within their current career, or they want to completely do a different industry, or they want to step back and have more time to themselves. Whatever that looks like, it's to help people facilitate change, come from a place of empowerment, step through fear. And I would like to have included in that some conversations with people who've had some incredible career shifts and who might not have even realized at the time that that's what was going on. People who were laid off and thought it was going to be the end of their world, only to have it be a silver lining. And then they created their own business. And now they're super successful. I love, love, love as a therapist hearing these rock bottom stories. There's so many out there. I mean, even my own journey into becoming a therapist was a bit of a rock bottom story, because the year before I thought I had my dream career. I really, really did. I'd worked so hard to be a social media manager. I climbed my way up through a company, starting very, very low and working my way up, and then getting pulled into head office, and, huge company. And they had me be their social media manager, and it was really big. And it was only a few months into the role. And then it was announced that the company was going to be acquired by another company, because they were actually not doing very well. And I was devastated, because I thought that was the job that I was going to have for years and years and years. So that was like really soul crushing for me. I'd worked for like 5 or 6 years to get to that point, then to have that removed. So then I went off on my own to be freelance. And very, very shortly into my freelance journey, like not even 6 months, maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 9 months, COVID hit. And all of the people that I had started working with as clients, it was very like, it was social media, but it was also very events focused, because I had a lot of background in events and marketing. Obviously, all events and activities that I had planned with people were canceled because of COVID. So it was like another rock bottom. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And I was really frustrated. And it was in that time when I had to cocoon and kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what I was going to do. I had to go live with my parents for a while, in your mid-30s, which is never fun. And then I realized I wanted to be a therapist. So I was like, okay, let's do this again. We'll start out from scratch with no experience in another industry. And I came back to London, and I had to literally start like grunt work from the ground up, because I had no experience working with vulnerable people. So I nannied for a family with a child with extreme behavioral issues, and I also worked as a caregiver. So I got experience working with vulnerable children and vulnerable adults. I did that for a year. I trained doing a foundation course. Then I started a diploma in a program that allowed me to work and study at the same time. But it was a lot. It was like really intense. So anyway, fast forward 5 years, and now I'm a qualified therapist. I have my own private practice. I have lots of clients. I love them very much. But I've been very boundaried with keeping my client work in a 4-day window, so that I can have my weekends for self-care, because that's really important. And I have this 1 day a week where I want to draw on the skills from all my other careers to help more people. And so podcasting, blogging, socials, admin, that's what I do on Mondays. So once a week, I would like to have really interesting, inspiring conversations with people who've had incredible careers, really great stories. One thing that I've learned through my own personal development work and life experience is that you can have a dream, you can have a goal, but it's really hard to achieve that if you don't have any lived examples in your life of knowing people who have also done that. So, me being a therapist, as soon as I decided I wanted to be a therapist, I hit up like all my friends who had family members or relatives or friends that were therapists. And I started sitting down and talking to all of them, like, how did you do it? Where did you study? What did you do a clinical placement? Did you work for a company? Like, how did it work? So I think it's really important to have real life examples of people. So I will be having lots of fun, cool guests from like all the industries and their stories of how they got into their industry, how they either started their company or, just really cool, inspirational career stories. That was what I was originally going to have this podcast be, just that. And it was going to be called Fall to Rise. And it was going to be like rock bottom stories that, end in success. Um, and then I started creating a course with some of my friends, and I called it Career Congregation because I wanted it to be like a weekly meetup where we talk about all things career. And then I realized, wait a minute, that would be the best name for the podcast. So Career Congregation is what I'm calling it for now. The name might change, but that's what I'm calling it for now. And a couple of times a month, it will be really cool conversations with people talking about their industry and their stories. And a couple of times a month, I think it's just going to be, well, not just, but a couple of times a month, it's going to be more practical episodes talking about, one week it might be very like CV focused or like marketing focused or social media focused, and just the tips and tricks of the trade, invoicing, accountants, self-employment versus being an employee, like visas, all of that kind of stuff. So, and I'm going to try and make it as global as possible. I'm currently British and American, but I've lived in multiple countries, so I kind of know all the red tape and stuff that you have to get through when you decide that you want to live or work in another country that you don't have citizenship for. So kind of helping people understand, it can be difficult, but it's not necessarily a barrier. And I'm now actually about to start that journey myself again this year. I think by the summer, I'm probably going to be leaving London, where I've been for a very long time now, and starting to set up residency somewhere in the EU. It's still up in the air which country, but I want to be in the EU. And in case you were living under a rock, England had this thing called Brexit, and they decided to leave the EU, which was one of the worst decisions they've ever made. So living here is slightly less appealing to me now. So anyway, lots of things to talk about, but that is kind of the premise for this podcast, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with lots of you, meeting you guys, and telling lots of stories, and yeah, we'll see where this goes. So take care, and I will see you next week. Bye.